All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful day. It was a wild start to the week with everybody focused on the eclipse, but literally every bad thing we talked about yesterday happened in the morning. There was a lot of bond fear. We woke up right next to 4.5 on the 10-year. The Fed futures priced in 2 rate cuts instead of 3, the lowest pricing since October. And on top of all of it, people were talking about oil and energy, saying that OPEC may be back in control of oil prices. So, Chad, we got a lot to talk about. Tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day, but all of the action starts on Wednesday. There's a lot riding on it, and now where the bond market is, dollar, and all of these factors, people are starting to ask about policy error, or by the end of this week, we may get a new page in this narrative, or maybe turn a new chapter of everything that we're going through, or hopefully that's what the bonds are saying for now. But Chad, we got a lot to talk about. I got the plays. I have the keys, everything we're looking at for tomorrow. What I need from you, a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/The Stock Market. We will see you there in the morning. Run it, baby.
Working to the couch, it's the 2020 election. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Feel how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it down.
But right off the bat, before we get into the keys and what we're looking at tomorrow, I gotta give you a checkup so you see what's happening here. This is the 10-year bond, and you can see it on the yearly. We haven't been at these levels for a while, and we've talked about how the market has absolutely gone crazy anytime the yields have gotten this high. But this is what I was saying in the morning, without anything dramatic going on, before anything even opened, you were right there in the morning. And we were just talking about the data confirming 4.5 or not, but the closer you are to 4.5 ahead of the data, this is showing how much more pivotal it's going to be, because it's not kind of just a theory. It's like you are going to be right at 4.5 depending on how we move in the next 2 days, right ahead of the data. So that's the first big thing. But then the second thing that happened today, the 2-year. It was lagging behind before. Now it's coming up another yearly high. And the difference between the 10-year and the 2-year, you go back to the 10-year. Last time the 10-year was around these rates, it was around November. But you start breaking back the 2-year, it has been a little bit more stable, because this one is more sensitive to policy. So the fact that this one's kind of leading up now, it shows you where people's expectations are. If I could give you the final thing, and it relates to what we saw here today, we talked about it. There was 1-year and 5-year inflation expectations that came out from the Fed today. And if you notice, they came in just where the 2-year was, but the difference was the 2-year just moved into that. And what I was talking about, it seems like government bonds are right in line with expectations, and it just seems like the market is the only one that's kind of far from it, or at the very least, those worries and government bonds showing the fear of inflation coming back up, these are right in line, hence why they are all back up once again. So this is going to be the big deal of the week, but now this is what leads us into key one, and it gets very interesting, because I'll tell you right now, the market is holding on pretty well, and this is where we're going to have to see. Maybe we don't get an instant market reaction at the 4.5, but moving forward, I would definitely pay attention to it. But like I'm saying, the bond moves this morning, they have set the stage for this 4.5 or higher this week, and now we're really going to find out by the CPI. The only problem, like I'm telling you, bond yields right at 4.5 today. Market's doing pretty good, still holding up in that range. The other problem, tomorrow you're not going to get anything. It's going to be a dry day in terms of events. There's not going to be much. There will be things overseas. There's not going to be an eclipse to slow things down, so don't get suckered into whatever's going to happen. And keep in mind, I wouldn't get too involved, because whatever happens tomorrow is going to be some of that run-up. But what today even showed us, not much change. We are responding to the hot data that we got from Friday. That was still part of the story, but for the most part, you didn't have much today. Things moved around, and you're seeing where we're at. Bond yields moved without anything. So tomorrow, depending on what moves we get, we may get wildness, and it may not make any sense because it'll all make sense when the CPI comes out. So don't get suckered into any of it. That is key number one. Then key number two now, taking you into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty. I will have a preview before the CPI comes out, but we did this calculation today on stream, and it kind of blew my mind. But right here, right now, starting from Monday morning, we didn't even move much on the market. It was practically a break-even day across the board. And in the morning, the options market, Friday expiration, you run the ghetto standard deviation strategy, go see the break-evens. Right now, we are pricing in 1.4% for the CPI. And honestly, this is a lot. It's a huge amount. It blew me away, and it was very surprising because the last couple of CPIs, we haven't priced in more than like 1.1, 1.2, and even if we priced in a lot, we never really moved that much. So a 1.54 pricing, this is a lot. We got to watch over the next couple of days. I will give you updates to see if this holds. But now the other thing that's weird about this is that, yeah, we're pricing in 1.4, and that may sound like one of the bigger CPIs that we've had to deal with, but unfortunately, this range that you're in is about 1.4%. And what I'm talking about is that we could go down to this low here, not even fill the gap, and that would be like a 1.5% move. So whether we go down to that leading into the event and then pop, or maybe we stay here and all of it happens on the event. But the point is, yeah, we're pricing in a lot, but don't forget, the last 2 weeks has had a decently large range as we've gotten some volatility. So that may be the reason for it. I'm definitely going to be watching out for it. But with rates at 4.5 in anything, I wouldn't be quick to write this off. The fact of the matter is there is a lot riding on the CPI. And then are you ready? I'm going to give this to you on a Monday. Here's a little secret for the week. Maybe the minutes are packing a secret punch. Yes, remember, we had the Fed, dot plot had some adjustments, and we found a way to get off of that, but now we're going to hear from the Fed. A lot of data has come out, and things have moved. Maybe the Fed was a little bit more hawkish, and maybe that surprises people. Other than that, though, PPI besides CPI, those will be some of the other things to watch. So we'll see where that all takes us, but for the most part, there is a lot riding on it, and the range is big this week. And now to your final key. It's very simple. I gotta hide the place from you. If CPI is status quo on Wednesday, and I'm looking out a little bit ahead here, just keep in mind how the market is quickly going to shift into earnings mode for better or worse. And what I'm trying to tell you is that, yeah, bonds are at 4.5. Oh my gosh, it looks so pivotal. If it comes in status quo and we're not able to get a read, I mean, just think about it. You had the Bank of Japan and nothing crazy really happened. If that happens around here, don't underestimate how quickly everyone's going to be like, okay, earnings mode. And then good or bad earnings will be the next driver up or down. And maybe it starts getting the bond yields moving as well. But Chad, it should be straightforward. You just got to survive till tomorrow. Then Wednesday it gets crazy. And then we'll find out where April's taking us. But now, let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, I got 3 different plays that I'm looking at today. I only made a play on one of them. I'm still in my gold short. I went down and up and down and up and then ended up down on it today, but I'm still riding that one out. But as far as play number 1, you may have saw it, JP Morgan. So they have earnings. I decided to go for an early earnings play. I grabbed more than one so that I could sell one before Friday and hopefully get my initial investment back, but I only went with the call side. So I played JP Morgan last earnings, and I'm even going to have that video showing you all of the earnings plays that we did from last quarter. And this one was one of my biggest losses from last quarter because I went really early, I went big, and then it totally did nothing at all, and I got clapped on it. So this time around, I saw the option chain, and it looked exactly the same. The calls were cheaper, the puts were more expensive, or vice versa. So I said, hey, let me find a way. Instead of going both ways, though, I'm going to keep it small. I did the 2 standard deviation calculation, and as of right here, right now, this may change. That's why it's called the pre-earnings. It's pricing in, I believe, about like $7, $7.50. So 2 standard deviations was just under or just above $15. So what I decided to do as far as plays, I grabbed an April 19th next week. That's the strategy with all of them. 215 call. I grabbed 2 of them for 30 cents. So I spent $60 total, and like I told you the plan would be. Sell one before the earnings, get some of our money back and get a free play. And then maybe if the puts have a good price and they come down, I may be down to go both ways. But for now, only going with the call side, keeping it small, and hopefully we get a good one to start it off. But that is play number 1. Watch out for that. Then play number 2. I dropped the ball on this. A couple people asked me about it too, but ARM. I wanted this in the morning, and I was talking about 122. They already made the move. It literally hit 123 and then bounced up. They got a crazy pop there at the end. I don't know what it has been, but lately, ARM has been pretty quiet after that crazy run up and run down. Kind of stayed pinned at these highs. They haven't had too much news, and the way I'm looking at it, you're going to get that AI event this week with Marvel. Maybe it gets them hyped up. They're trading below, but then again, like go look at Intel. Not all these chip makers got to hold up, especially if they get bad news. ARM hasn't had bad news, but people were worried about the little lockup with the IPO, but we haven't seen any negative effect. But like, go look at Intel. They've had bad news, even though it's chip and AI. I mean, they've sold off a decent amount of that run-up that they have had recently. So we'll see how it plays out, but that 122 on ARM, I'm going to keep my eye out for it this week, but not going to force it. So we'll see how that one plays out. That is play number 2. And then finally, these plays moved today, and I have them, and I gave some updates, and people really liked them, and I really thought this would be a good time to talk about it. PTN and VANI, these are 2 of the biotechs I got clapped on. I think both of them I got clapped between like 30 and 60%. PTN, I'm only down like 30% on this one now, but they had a phase 3 data today. I played the phase 2 about a month and a half ago, and they already reported phase 3, so it was pretty fast, but they came out today and said they met most statistical significant endpoints. There's still one more hurdle. Pretty much the FDA has a very high bar with these dry eye drug diseases and what they're looking for the secondary endpoints, so that's why some people are saying they got a little bit more to do, but for the most part, this was very good news, and it kind of circumvents a lot of the bad news that got us down. So I'm going to be watching it. If it does go a little lower, I would be down to buy. But like I said, there's one more hurdle. So we talked about this one. And then VANI, this is the other biotech play. They just had good data and sold off. They did like some offerings and placements, but I am planning to average down on this one before May 11th. I believe that's the day of the event, but they have a weight loss drug data that they're going to be releasing. That was the first reason with the catalyst. And I just said, I think it's going to move around. Gives me VKTX vibes, but until we get that data, it's all riding on the data. And I do plan on averaging right before that comes in. So both of them had pops today. People asked about it. We went over the stories with them. People thought it was interesting, and honestly, I kept looking at them. They kept catching my eye, so maybe we're getting closer to that, but biotech's extremely risky, so always watch out and be careful. But besides that, no other plays. Like I said, watching the gold. I don't have any plays on oil. I would be down to flip it, but it's definitely at the higher end, so I'm going to want to wait for that. Still in a couple of flips from last year that got clapped like BHC last week, like BHC and Lunar, so we'll see how those go. Maybe we get out if the market moves too much. Otherwise, the story doesn't change. I'd probably be down to ride some of these out too, and then we'll see if there's any other buyout plays like Gildan still holding that, and then we'll go from there. But Chad, that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure Hydrate Healthy ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And I need you to remember, baby, which have already been through don't matter as much as the trajectory of where you're going now, baby. So adjust the trajectory and keep that in mind. But I love you. Drink that water. Stay hydrated, healthy, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the AM and horn.